Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the County Jail Oversight Board meeting. Councilman Madden is available remotely and asked that I just go through the agenda for this evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Is there an approval for the reports of the warden and deputy warden made on April 8th, 2025 for the Jail Oversight Board meeting?
I make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Come to our report section for the executive director's report. I do not have too much to report today. I did want to make note, a lot of our recent activities have been centered around the Prospect Crozier Health System. This impacts the facility in that it is the closest trauma center to the facility. And we obviously want to make sure that our staff and incarcerated persons have rapid access to care should it be needed. This could potentially necessitate a further drive. It could also incur additional costs for taking people further away. We are looking very much to work with the community to restore some level of services to that community. But at this time, I just want to make everyone aware that that is something that we need to be monitoring and be careful of and thoughtful of, as we know that we need to have access to healthcare in the nearby community. And there is obviously people that come in all sorts of states and conditions, and this could have an impact on the health of those individuals that are in crisis. So again, looking forward to hopefully working with the community and figuring out how to restore services. But in the meantime, I hope that everyone does their best to take care of one another and to stay safe.
Executive Director, I have a question. Is there an identified spot for medical helicopters to drop near the jail? Because you mentioned driving, but I know chopper access is something that we use a lot, both incoming and outgoing as a former Crozier employee. So do we have a spot identified with the FAA for the jail to fly somebody out?
I don't know offhand. I don't know if the warden knows. That would be something that she may be able to share with us.
A more likely response would be an emergent transfer to Brittle Hospital that has a helipad, and then they would do a medevac transport from there after they've done an assessment based on the need.
Okay.
But we would be engaging EMS first to determine whether or not there's a local provider that would be able to prepare.
And I have since learned it takes about 18 minutes for a helicopter to get to an area. So there is always going to be a time delay even with a helicopter.
Wait, I can't reward you for showing up. I'm going to reward you for doing a good job.
Well, I think someone, yep. I think Sean took care of that. Okay, I think we're ready for our next agenda item, the warden's report.
Good evening, members of the board. And while Sean is queuing this up, kind of piggybacking off of the discussion related to Prospect and Crozier Health, the Delaware County was participating within an extensive job fair, of which was very well represented at Subaru Park today. This also included members of our administrative staff, our Human Resources Department from the George W. Hill Correctional Facility, as well as our contracted health service provider, WellPath. So there were representatives there to discuss employment opportunities. Very encouraged by the amount of participation for the event in totality, but certainly with a level of interest for our agency. And we are very hopeful that some individuals who have had to be displaced during very unfortunate circumstances might find employment with our agency moving forward. So wanted to extend thank you to county leadership as well for their engagement and participation within that well-organized and highly attended event. I don't know what that sound was, but we're getting very different features this evening during our meeting. For our monthly statistics, now I will not read through all of the slides. We have quite a bit prepared to make sure that we're following up on some of the elements of discussion from last month's meeting. So we have several deputy wardens that will be providing a presentation. So I will, of course, include these slides as we go through because this is information that is typically reported. We have maintained relative stability within all of our statistics. So while I would love to report that during these capital investment projects that our population has decreased significantly, that is not the circumstance of which we're seeing. We did have a slight increase from last month, but again, relatively stable in terms of occurrences. During the month of April, we did have several occasions in which there were no recreation or tier recreation that was specific to certain housing units in which we had incidences that were under investigative review and being addressed by our staff who maintain operations within the institution. I do think that somebody who's maybe participating virtually is not muted, and that is causing some interference on this end. Again, stability within our gender population, our sentenced versus pretrial, and age and race, ethnicity in terms of what we can see. And on this slide, you'll see the 4 different colorations of the bar graphs. Those are for the first 4 months of this calendar year. So January is blue, February is orange, March is gray, and yellow is for April. This is a slide that I have unintentionally omitted over the last several months, and it was one that I was typically reporting on, so I wanted to make well on and also acknowledge and address that that was an unintentional omission. This is reviewing the lead commitment reasons of what's driving the population each month. So evaluating everybody who was committed to the agency between the 1st and 30th of April. There were 528 commitments. You can see on the right-hand side the lead charges of what was bringing individuals in, and that still is highly populated in our warrant division, whether that is a violation of probation or a bench warrant failure to appear. For our behavioral health statistics, again, these are maintaining stability. We've seen fluctuations and increases of which we've discussed related to mental health. Myself and the health services administrator and assistant health services administrator do have the opportunity in partnership with another agency that is similarly situated in size to go and review their mental health procedures within their correctional agency. And so on Friday, we will be visiting Hudson County Correctional Facility, which is in New Jersey. It's right outside of New York City. They've been doing some very innovative, again, it's a different state, so sometimes the laws or procedures might vary, but they've been interested in helping us with policy development, and we're going to have some additional discussions in triage mechanisms as well as virtual appointments for the population to hopefully continue to augment and strengthen the procedures and programs we have available in our institution. For medication-assisted treatment, we had a slight decrease in terms of our population within the last calendar month, but again, maintaining relative consistency. I believe last month we were 17.65%. Today we're at 16.73%. This does include all FDA-regulated medications for opioid use disorder, which is buprenorphine, both in oral and injection form, methadone, which is in oral form, as well as Vivitrol or naltrexone. We do long-acting injectables when it is deemed clinically appropriate. We are doing continuations as well as inductions. During this calendar month, we did take the opportunity to capitalize on the fact that the first week we celebrate National Correctional Employees Week, National Nurses Week, National Teachers Week, and National Mental Health Week. And we had an abundance of employees that were nominated for Employee of the Month. So we were able to recognize more than we typically do in the calendar month, as some work on different shifts, as well as in different areas of the building, so we can reserve parking for them in those designated areas. Also wanted to commend those that have extensive years of service, who have lived through the transition of the county at the agency, and specifically recognize those that have over 20 years of experience. We see Correctional Officer Vernon Brown with 27 years this month, Correctional Officer Mark Rothwell, 26 years, Correctional Officer William Bill Palmer, 38 years, Correctional Officer Corinne Clement, 28 years, Correctional Officer Velma Hilton with 28 years, which is extraordinarily commendable for any agency, but particularly one that can be so challenging like the field of corrections. Also wanted to thank, last week we had our memorial service as well as our annual award service. Controller Phillips, I greatly appreciate your attendance as well as your remarks during the ceremony. And Executive Director O'Malley, your presence was well felt and very much appreciated, both at that event as well as at the picnic. During this, we have employees who by anonymous submission are eligible for nominating their peers, supervisors, or supervisees for our annual, we say, service awards. So we have 14 different core values. We define those, and then we celebrate the individuals who are representative in their actions as adhering to or embodying those qualities of our correctional professionals. And so you can see the listing of those that received those service awards. We were extraordinarily grateful for those that were able to be in attendance. Some were working a different shift and they weren't present to receive their award immediately. Others were actually attending another event and representing our agency. We also had the opportunity to recognize a WellPath Employee of the Year, which you can see underneath the photo of those that were in attendance. Our Employee of the Year, this award is done in memoriam for one of our employees who unfortunately passed away. Our Correctional Officer of the Year, which is also an award done in memoriam of one of our officers who died suddenly in 2023. And our Supervisor of the Year, who we will hear from shortly as he will be providing a presentation related to case management services. We also wanted to extend our gratitude to County Council, who during their public meeting on May 7th presented our agency with a proclamation related to Correctional Employees Week, and then also included some of the photographs from our events that we hosted at the agency last week. We did do another dunk tank as a philanthropy for the agency in partnership with Heinz Animal Rescue. Employees were eligible to make donations either in food or supplies for animals that go through their adoptive services. And if they wanted to donate monetary amounts, they could do so directly to the agency. That did not come through our department at all. And they were eligible to either donate a certain amount in tiers to have shots, meaning they could throw the ball, or they could walk up and just push and make sure that they sunk one of us who was sitting in the dunk tank. We had several employees who volunteered, which made it that much more fun this year. And thankfully, it was a little bit warmer outside than it had been the previous year. As I'd mentioned earlier, we had some of our employees who were representing our agency at the mock prison riot, which takes place in Moundsville, West Virginia. That was done between May 4th and May 7th of 2025. And so this is typically an event that is hosted, which includes international teams for correctional emergency response teams. We had 5 representatives from our agency, our Assistant CERT Commander, Damon Lieutenant Tyrance Moore, Lieutenant Jared McCafferty, Sergeant Dwayne Tarwilly, and Correctional Officer Danielle Crawford. They were eligible to participate in training sessions as well as gain some additional certifications and qualifications, of which they'll be able to be instructors as adjunct within our training department and extend some of those knowledge and experience to other CERT members or correctional professionals within the agency. We are very much hoping to attend next year as well. We've got the dates, I think it's May 3rd through the 6th of 2026 on our calendar. They do have skills competitions, and I've told my team I'd love for them to go. They just need to be prepared to win. So we've set some goals and achievements for ourselves for next year. We've hosted, since our last Jail Oversight Board meeting, 2 separate graduations. Unfortunately, I don't have a class of 325A featured, but I do have class 325B featured within this. We did begin the most recent class on April 28th, and our next graduation is scheduled for June 6th. We are recruiting for our next class, which is scheduled to begin May 27th of 2025. And for capital improvements and projects. I know I've said this before, we are an open construction zone. We now have 3 simultaneous projects ongoing at, the agency in different areas or parts. The first one being the roof repair, the recoating, and the HVAC replacement that is continuing to progress forward. We've had to make some changes to population management and locations within the institution. Our staff has also been impacted by these areas where we do have shutdowns, and we've had to come up with some creative solutions to make sure that we're administering programs and services with minimal disruptions throughout the agency. Our electronic security and services project officially started on the 30th of April, and that is ongoing. We have several designated work crews working both in the interior and the exterior of the building. All of these crews are assigned to correctional officers who are working those details to ensure that all of our policies and procedures and safety measures are being observed, that they're communicating frequently with our command staff as well as the crews directly to ensure that we're in the correct areas and that any shutdowns or impacts are being addressed in advance to make sure our employees as well as the population is safe and protected throughout this. Again, there will be some temporary disruptions throughout the institution. Our prioritization of court-ordered programs will continue to occur. We will be offering some satellite, so these will be modified operations within programs in which we might be meeting one-on-one instead of in group settings with some of these individuals, as well as conducting more packet work to make sure that we're complying with some of the expectations to complete these programs. We will, of course, continue to work with our partners in advance of any areas that might be impacted or stakeholders to make sure that we're communicating in advance as much as we can of any of those disruptions. So far, it's going extremely well, and we are very much looking forward to this ramping up and seeing a lot more work being completed. We did start our 3rd simultaneous project just yesterday. This is our farm shop roof repair. Unfortunately, because of the weather today, they had to do a work stoppage. This is anticipated to be completed by Friday, May 30th. Though weather conditions, of which we've been monitoring, particularly this week, may significantly impact all of these projects as they do all include components of the exterior. And then again, for our cost recovery slide, you can see that we are continuing to have monies collected appropriately within the designations of which we've previously discussed through meetings, and we have been able to complete the monthly stipends. So you can see that reflected within the slide. We are still definitely in the positive, so the stipend has not negatively impacted our capacity to continue to thoughtfully and conscientiously provide to the Inmate Welfare Fund. Other than that, I don't have any further presentation, but will be designating the remaining to Deputy Warden Lisa Mastrodi, who's our Deputy Warden of Administration and Operations. Of course, if any additional questions come up, I remain available and at your pleasure. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So at our last month's, sorry about that. At our last month's meeting, you asked us to provide some additional information on our tablet program, as well as our grievances and requests for information process. So I did bring a tablet with me today. Unfortunately, it only works if it's on the ViaPath network, but in case you want to see it, I do have it here. This is an image of our tablet that we have here for you to see. And then our tablet programs in general offer numerous benefits, including enhanced communication with family, friends, access to educational resources, and potential for improved behavior and reduced recidivism. Where there's a significant amount of free and fee resources, the county's approval of the monthly stipend has showed an increase in usage of the tablets. Our tablets are distributed through the supervision of security daily and available for use to the population from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. each night. Special management units and restrictive housing units may have limited access to tablets and various schedules. It affects approximately about 100 people that have limited access to the tablets. Each week, with the assistance of ViaPath on-site team. Not working. Sean? So each week through the assistance of the ViaPath team, inventories and inspections of all the equipment, the housing unit phones on the unit, the tablets, the carts, the chargers. They do a complete inventory and inspection of each one. And then we have weekly calls at the end of each week with their leadership to discuss tablet redistribution based on the population movement and equipment repairs. This slide is important, like it shows you on here, if you're looking where Unit 6 has a negative 48, which means they're in need of 48 additional tablets, but Unit 7 has an extra 47. And that's what we look at each week and try to reevaluate and reassess where they need to go. All right, in the next few slides, you're going to see usage breakdowns by month. We've done several different slides to give you an idea of what we're doing. So this is the phone call minutes. As you can see, there's a huge spike that occurs in January. We're going to attribute this to the rate decrease that was put into effect by the FCC in January, reducing the phone call per minute rate from 16 cents a minute now to 6 cents a minute. We still do have the free 5-minute phone calls are still in effect that have been in effect since COVID in 2020. So that's still ongoing as well. So now we're looking at the tablet total usage by minute. You can see there's an increase that happens in October. At this point in time, we had so many damaged tablets out for repair. In October, we received about 300 back and put them back out into the population that were repaired. We also took a look at how they're making phone calls, if they're using the tablets versus using the unit phones. We found that 63% of the calls made out from the facility are done by the unit phones versus 37% being completed on the tablets. Next, we have a breakdown of the tablet minutes by category. So you can see the preferred method of purchasing is for the entertainment bundles, which includes messaging, music, movies, television, and games. The bundle cost is $15 for 500 minutes, and it's a discounted per minute rate, so it's only 3 cents a minute versus if you were doing the app separately, it would be 5 cents a minute. Video visitation is our next slide, which was also affected by the FCC and had a rate decrease in January. The previous rate was 25 cents per minute. It's now reduced to 11 cents per minute, again, which we would attribute to the increase in usage. With that reduction, we did have a contract change for our messaging. That rate went from 25 cents a minute to 50 cents a minute now. Did anyone have any questions or like anything to go over on the tablets? And then I will get into absolutely grievances and requests for information.
Maybe I should know this, but on one of your earlier slides, it showed the number of tablets on each unit and the variations.
In our health check.
How do
So
they
I
get
believe-
so varied? How is it a request by the inmate, or why do some have so many and some have so few? And
So we distribute the tablets to the housing units based on the population at the housing units.
okay,
And that's how we do it at this point in time. It is a shared resource for the population. So the way the tablets are programmed is that, so if this tablet, let's say, is for unit 4, if you are being moved and take it to unit 5, it will not work. It only works on the housing unit it's assigned to. So when we have to do reassignments because of population movements, we physically have to take the tablets back, reassign them and program them to the next unit we want them to go to. Sure.
I just had a question
Sure.
on the tablets that need to be repaired. Is that coming out of where in your
We don't.
budget?
We don't pay for that.
You don't pay for
It's
that?
part of IAPath. They're responsible.
Okay.
Mhm. All right.
Mr. Strati, I know that, and I know that you're aware of this, that the tablet access has been a source of concern that we hear frequently about. When we're there, we also hear about the concern. I realize that perhaps, some facets of it fall into the domain of security issues, but I do think that for the benefit of the public, if you could speak a little bit about some of the challenges, the sort of root causes of those challenges of access, and what your department is doing to address that over the next whatever period of time.
So right now, we do have a problem with the destruction of the charging stations as well as destruction of the tablets. The tablet actually has been better than in the past few months. We would eventually like to move to one-to-one for the tablets. We have about 3 more units that we need to repair the wall chargers that are on the units, if you remember seeing those. We have about 3 more of those left to do. And then with the population that we have right now and our tablet inventory, we would be able to move to a one-to-one, which we're hoping would reduce the amount of issues going on regarding tablets, because as of right now, they are a shared resource.
Okay, thank you. And I want to mention, I realize this is not a challenge that's unique to George W. Hill. Facilities far and wide have gone toward tablets in the sort of COVID era and the aftermath. But nevertheless, it is one that, whether it's unique to us or not, it's definitely one that we're mindful of, and we want to do what we can to address the inequities that come with the challenges on access.
We also take additional steps because when we see tablets are on the housing units, so we're monitoring them electronically and looking at their usage and who's using them and who's logging on. And in reality, we don't see that it's as big of an issue based on the numbers. When you look at the numbers of it, I'm not saying it's not an issue, but when you look at the numbers of it, it really doesn't appear to be across the board throughout the facility. But we are looking into go to one-to-one, which we're hoping would reduce it even more.
Yeah, I mean, like anything, the concern, you hear the concerns, you don't hear the situations where it's working fine, right? So we're always going to, hear where people have issues with access, and that may turn into feeling as if it's a widespread issue. I'm not diminishing it, but to your point, the fact that the tablet situation is working fine on certain units, it's not like it's happening everywhere, but nevertheless, it's an issue that I understand that you're addressing.
And so to defer it even further, when we have tablets that are inactive for a certain period of time, we will deactivate that tablet, which we're hoping will prevent people from hoarding them because it'll become useless if it's not utilized frequently.
Thank you, Deputy.
My question basically is to ask, the tablets are used basically for entertainment and for visual visits. Am I correct?
They can do video visits, messaging, entertainment, games. There's educational resources. There's religious resources on there. They also can get their mail. Their mail comes through there as well.
Okay, so the telephone calls, how are they in terms of people having availability of being able to make phone calls?
We have phones on all the housing units.
And they're all working?
The majority of the phones are working. I think our last inventory showed that we had about 15 non-working phones out of the 277 that we have throughout the facility. And the majority of the ones not working, 6 of them were on our DUI building that is not populated at this time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so request for.
I had a couple
Sorry.
questions too.
Sorry.
So when you talk about not having enough for everybody, so if 2 people are eligible and there's only one, how does the sharing happen, or does someone just not get one?
So we have security is supposed to supervise and make sure that they are distributed fairly and there's even chances for everybody to have the opportunity to utilize tablets.
Okay, and for the people that don't have a tablet or aren't eligible to receive one, how do they get their mail?
So depending, like if you were on a restricted housing unit, your mail would be printed for you,
Okay, and
or in medical, or depending on where you are.
are those items free? Like, are things like video visiting, mail, some of the apps, educational stuff, are they free, or does everything have a cost to it?
No, there's a ton of free apps on there as well. They're not as popular, the free apps, of course, as the others. And I did write down so phone calls are 6 cents a minute. Messaging is 50 cents per minute. Video visitation, when it's done on the housing unit through those pods that they hook to, is 11 cents a minute. And I actually didn't mention, there used to be when the family was depositing funds onto your account, there was a surcharge that the family would pay for those deposits. That actually was removed by the FCC as well.
Okay, and so then there's some variety of educational and free programming, entertainment, and then.
There's audiobooks on there as well. They seem to like the games better, which are free for
Yeah,
purchase.
okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so with requests for information and grievances, so I wanted to kind of explain this process. It's a 3-step process. The first, if an incarcerated person just wants information, it could be about anything. The first step is what we call a request for information. They would submit a request to whatever department they wanted to ask a question about. That department would respond, and then if they didn't like if they didn't agree with the response, they could then appeal it. It then moves to a step 1 level grievance, which is then moved to the level of a supervisor for a response. If the incarcerated person still was not happy with the response, they could take it to a step 2 level grievance, and then that would go to the level of a director or deputy warden or above. So in our past meeting, you also had asked me to dig down further into some of the categories and break them down. So I did that on the screen, and there's 2 slides of this that show each area. And then we kind of highlighted on here what was the majority of the requests and grievances coming in for. So I don't know if you want me to go through each one and give you a highlight, or did you want me to go to staff concerns, housing unit concerns, and staff complaints, which you were most focused on last month? You can do either. I'll go through it. So case management, they are definitely take on the majority of requests for information. They are the first line of communication for the population and answer more requests than any other department. The requests for them usually they're inquiring about their cases, asking with help with their accounts, asking how to get on programs, visits, and so many other things. The mailroom, typically in this area, they're sending in requests, asking questions, the status of delivery of their books, religious articles, mailing address, what our mailing address is, and they don't really get too many. Food service, they are usually for religious diets or allergy requests, letting the food service department know. Specific items, they request a lot of times for specific items to be served more, or they comment about the quality or quantity of the food. Commissary, an example is they like to request and let the commissary people know that their housing assignment has been moved and those types of things, problems with ordering or general questions about the commissary schedule. The religious services, the most that we see going on is that they are asking for religious supplies, religious materials, or to sign up for services. In the law library, 90% of the requests going into the law library or is asked to schedule a time in the law library and be put on the list. They also request notary services or case law on, depending on their case or certain forms. Our next area is laundry, and when we reviewed those requests and grievances, it was mostly to request new clothing items or claiming a lost item or requesting for what the schedule is. We also reviewed health services. The requests are submitting asking a lot for status of their eyeglass orders and eye exams, and a lot for the induction, being asked to be inducted onto the MAT program. In the tablet area, mostly they are reporting damage to equipment. So they'll put in a request letting us know a phone is broken on this unit and not working. They also ask a lot about if their video visit was suspended, which is, so a video visit can be suspended if something inappropriate is done during the video visit. They will receive a suspension on their video visit. So a lot of times they post questions for that. As far as security housing unit concerns, when we really looked and dig down into these, a lot of them were well, they put in a lot of requests for cleaning supplies, maintenance items, and complaints and basically on reduced rec time, which was usually due to count being conducted. As far as security staff complaints, we also sampled this area. Primarily the complaints had a lot to do with policy violations, and the population is not allowed to grieve a policy that we have. So we're digging into them. Some of them did go into whether staff was disrespectful, and we always investigate each one of those with leadership. But that is the majority of them. And that is it.
Did we get a copy of this?
I believe it's emailed to everyone or no? Okay. I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening, board members and those online. How y'all doing? For the month of April, I'm going to get a couple of highlights, and then the supervisor of the year, case manager supervisor, Mr. Hannigan, will talk about more about case management. For the month of April, the GED program increased their GED to 11 IPs, and our passing rate is 61%. This month, we have been very privileged, and I want to wish congratulations to Academy instructor Gail Martin, who has been selected for the 2025 Correctional Education Associate Region 1 Teacher of the Year. For those people that don't know, CEC is a professional associate of educators and administrators working in adult and juvenile correction setting all over the world. They help members to stay informed about the latest development in education practice and correction industry. Region 1 is actually a very big region. It consists of all the New England state, New York, New Jersey, and as well the Eastern Canadian province, which comes to Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Prince Edward, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland. And Ms. Gail Martin will be honored at the 79th Annual CA International Conference in Pittsburgh in August of 2025. I want to wish congratulations and to Ms. Gail Martin for this landmark accomplishment.
Is there just one winner for this?
There's-
She's the teacher of the year for this whole area?
For the Region 1, yes.
Wow,
It's a
that's
big,
amazing.
it's amazing. Yes, it is.
Wow.
So I want to take this opportunity to recognize her and thank you, Ms. Crufty, to nominate her. And it was a very lengthy process, and she has been selected and nominated. This year, we also were selected for the Pennsylvania Department of Correction selected 2 of our staff for Thinking for a Change, T4C. And 2 of us are we selected to go to June at the DOC Academy to be trained. T4C is a 25-session program that utilizes cognitive restructuring and social skill intervention as a method of changing criminal thinking. The training targets IPs with poor decision, making skills to work on cognitive self-change, social skill improvement, and problem-solving skill development. The month of April is known as the Second Month Act. And it's a national initiative aimed to raise awareness about the opportunity available for individuals returning from incarceration. For George W. Hill, we hosted our second annual Career and Resource Fair in April 2024, and thanks to a collaboration of several people, Program Administrator Ms. Shaw, Ms. Gail Martin, Ms. Caspary, Ms. O'Connor, and the team at EDSI put this event together. It was a very good, well attended, and 164 IP attended, and 7 community-based organizations were present at that day. Again, we're seeking employment. We are hiring for a couple of programs. We have, I believe, one substance use counsel position open. We have we're hiring for the SUD grant manager position and the discharge planner. We did hire a wellness instructor. I meant to take that off. Any question from the board before Mr. Hennick, before Ms. Program Administrator Ms. Shaw talks about her report?
I think that the council should be made aware of that, because that is a huge, that's a huge honor.
Yeah.
And it really says a lot for George W. Hill getting that award from people in its, within its walls. It's tremendous.
We're very fortunate to have her as a instructor. Yeah.
Thank you. It's great. I hope somebody goes with her to Pittsburgh and be with her to see the honors.
Yeah. Michelle.
Seriously.
Good evening, members of the board and the public. Thank you for the opportunity to share program and reentry updates for the month of April. I will begin with grant-funded program updates. The Delaware County Reentry Program, administered by Public Health Management Corporation, had 10 new clients accept service. 9 of the new clients are parolees, and 1 is incarcerated. For any new viewers, PHMC reentry service is open to Delaware County residents regardless of charge. Clients meet with the peer specialist and reentry case manager bi-monthly. Reentry service continues 60 days post-release. March of 2025 marked our 1 year of service with PHMC, and service will continue for the next 2 years. Our second grant-funded program is the First Step Workforce Development Program, facilitated by EDSI. The 4-week job readiness course completed cohort 24 on April 3rd. 6 men successfully completed the course. Cohort 25 began on April 7th, and 11 men are signed up for the course. And in addition to facilitating the First Step program and hosting the facilities job fair, EDSI also administered a second opiate workforce recovery workshop, which provides an introduction to the program, which is offered in the community. The introductory workshop includes job readiness and life skills, resume service, discovering career fields, interview practice, budgeting and credit score insight, and recovery support. 31 MAT participants attended the workshop, and displayed in the photo is Matt Lloyd, the Opiate Workforce Recovery Program Manager, and his staff. On Tuesday, April 22nd, we had the opportunity to celebrate the very first New Leash on Life graduation class. We were honored to host guest speaker, Congresswoman Mary Gay Scanlon. Congresswoman Scanlon, Office of the Public Defenders, and the Executive Director's Office secured funding for the Prison to Community Workforce Initiative, which supported the program. In addition, we are extremely grateful for the dedication and commitment of adult probation and parole, Office of the District Attorney, and the courts for preparing and planning the implementation of New Leash on Life. New Leash on Life Cohort 1 graduated 4 women. The 4 women executed 51 workshops in addition to training and caring for sheltered dogs over the past 3 months. And as a result, they earned an early parole and a paid internship. It's important to note that the cohort started with 6 participants, and I share this not to be negative, but to emphasize the rigorous standards of the job readiness program. Importantly, thank you to the correctional staff on Unit 9. They were boots on the ground, taking on additional responsibility to ensure safety and program guidelines. They effortlessly welcomed the task with accountability, integrity, and service. And on Monday, we will expand the program to our male population. We plan on doubling in size with 12 participants and 6 dogs. And displayed in the large photo is our graduating class, their dogs, and New Leash staff. Photos on the right showcase the graduation ceremony with Warden Williams, Congresswoman Scanlon, Judge Pagano, Councilwoman Schaefer, Judge Kroll, Councilman Madden, Office of the Public Defenders, and the CEO of New Leash on Life. The photos are compliments of Public Relations Ryan Hurling. Thank you, Ryan, for commemorating another milestone at George W. Hill, including media outreach, photography, press release, and recording the event. Members of the board that were unable to attend, we hope to see you at one of the next 5 graduations over the next 2 years. Oh, Sean. I did. I did a little more than that. Oh, thanks. In conclusion, additional program updates for the month of April. The Delaware County Veterans Department engaged with 2 incarcerated veterans. Thresholds Organization Decision-Making course had 8 participants. Our in-house reentry case manager collaborated with 22 sentenced individuals, providing post-release support. On-site probation and parole drug and alcohol liaisons released 61 individuals to inpatient treatment. Child and Family Focus Organization facilitated 3 classes to our juvenile population. Maternity Care Coalition offered support to 2 women. And as I previously mentioned in the past slide, the Opiate Workforce Recovery Workshop had 31 participants. Thank you. Can I answer any questions? Next to the podium, I welcome Supervisor of the Year, Senior Case Manager Mike Hannigan.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity for me to speak up here and tell you a bit about case management at George W. Hill. My name is Mike Hennigan. I have been employed at that prison for over 30 years. During that time, I've worn many hats. I started as a correctional officer. I eventually was promoted to sergeant lieutenant. From there, I moved on to IT and helped roll out the new management system that we have there called OMS. From there, I did a little bit of fire and safety, and every couple of years I seem to want to change jobs. I figured I would step into case management. I believe I could have more of an effect on the population, a positive effect on the population. But with case management, right now we have 10 different housing units that are operational. Currently I have 10 case managers, and we are covered in regards to getting the population as much assistance as they need. Now, under those housing units, we have multiple classifications, and a briefing of the classifications. We have juveniles. We currently only have 2, thank God. We have restricted housing, which covers administrative segregation and medical department, which is anything outside the norm of general population. I'm going to skip the female real quick. I'm going to go to protective custody, which is one dictated by the crime sometimes, and also dictated by the incarcerated person itself. If they feel they need safety, they come to us and we place them in the safety through us and through classification. General population, they roam, they go to the programs. You're all aware of what that is. We have a max class population, those with homicides and murders, and ones that are deemed a problem, which because your classification can be changed at any time. We have the substance abuse program, which is the MAT program. And lastly, almost lastly, behavioral health, mental health, and severely mentally ill. Those are those that are diagnosed and unmedicated, and they are kept on one of our units over in 1010A, as you all are aware there. Lastly, back to females, all the populations all the different classifications I just listed are all contained on one block for the females. So the case manager there handles all those different classifications, whereas each one of these has a different case manager that may be more adept at dealing with that population. Are there any questions so far? All right, just an overview of what we do. So prior to permanent housing, we classify the incarcerated person. And that is done, once that happens, it's a point, I'm sorry, let me go back. It's a point-based system that involves the more points, the difference in classification. Sometimes the crime dictates it, like with a max class inmate. Sometimes your history dictates it. You have a long criminal history, or if you've been upstate for several years and have come down, that also would dictate where you go in the facility. Once the IP is moved from permanent housing, the case manager conducts an initial interview. Now, this to me is one of the most important parts of identifying all of our problems. This is where we catch mistakes either made by the courts, made by us. It could be even made by the judges, where a signature is missing or something along those lines is missing. But generally, we go through and find out why they're here, and we make sure that they are here correctly. Again, the second one here, ensure the IP is properly incarcerated. Sometimes bench warrants aren't good. Sometimes they'll tell you that. Sometimes you find it doing the initial interview saying, oh, you know, this is done. And then you find out that a mistake was made. No big deal. It's corrected and they're released. Does not happen often. It sounds like it happens often, but it really doesn't. Next, we manage their movement through the court system. If we're observing their court history and viewing their dockets on UJS through the internet, and their docket sheet dictates their history, and we see a date that hasn't moved, so to speak, in a while, we make an effort to reach out, contact the court in this case, and find out if they can set a date or what the problem is. Now, sometimes dates are going to be a while in the future, such as trial dates, especially with jury trials. Those are set, 4, 5, 6 months in the future, if not longer sometimes. We facilitate information from the incarcerated person request through both tablet access and a written request. And I believe Deputy Warden Mastrodi spoke a little bit earlier about the tablet access. We do also work on written requests. And it's a mailbox in the block where we get these things, and it's the same thing we get from them. It's request for information they need to know. When's my next court date? Can you help me with this? Is this possible? Any questions so far? All right. We also proactively search for any additional criminal proceedings or courts. JNet, the Justice Network. It's something we use frequently to look stuff up and make sure that nothing else is happening. If there is other criminal issues, we can address them while they're incarcerated. If they're not addressed while they're incarcerated with us, they're going to be addressed post-incarceration with us, which might include sending them to that jurisdiction or handling it while they're here. We collaborate with the records department, and we do this quite often, and we're an intermediary device between the courts, the records, and the incarcerated person. Whereas if bail needs to be taken care of, not paid, but is signed for bail, we need an address, take care of that. That's what we do on our end. Let me put my glasses on because I did take notes on this. Next, we contact outside jurisdictions, and if there are other things in conjunction with what we just did with the records department, it's kind of like a who calls first. If I catch it, I call. If they catch it, they call. That way we know that everything's running smoothly for them. This one's important, was very important to one of my case managers, answering family phone calls in regards to wellness checks or the well-being of the incarcerated population. One of the things I found out about that is you tend to get more calls from family members that are dealing with an incarcerated person that has mental health issues. And this helps a lot in regards to, are they taking their medication? Sometimes they will even let us know what it is. I mean, at that point, I forward it to have them forward it to the medical department so the medical can hopefully piece it together and get the proper medication going. You want to to make sure I got that in. Civil engagements during elections was something that was added. We've done this for every election in the past couple of years, and even the primaries, is those that wanted to sign up and become a registered voter could sign up, and those that wanted to request a ballot could request a ballot if they were legally eligible, no convicted felons. We facilitate special projects, mostly the voting, Christmas cards, or holiday cards over the past couple of years has been a big thing. And lastly, what I try to do and what we're trying to do, and I have to do more, is we're going to pursue training and professional development. I've reached out to another agency. I want to get something done. We have motivational interviewing, which is a great training. Part of the staff had it when I was still a case manager, but I want to work on getting more staff, my staff full, and then into additional trainings. Now, that's all I have for you. Do you have any questions on anything I said? I mean, basically, we're finding it's a puzzle. We're putting a puzzle together. We're solving a mystery in some cases. You know, why is this going on legally for this person? Then we have to do a little bit of digging just to figure out what's going on. You know, if they're supposed to stay incarcerated, then it's our job to follow them through the court system and make sure they stay incarcerated. But if there is a mistake made, if something happened to court, if a warrant is bad, it's also our job. We're the first line of defense of figuring this out and getting them going. And one of the things, and I actually may have skipped something or didn't put it on there, is one of the ways we do that too is via court returns. We call them court returns. We have a list that goes out to court. Every case manager gets it. The next day, they should be reviewing their caseload and making sure they went to court. If they didn't go to court, what's the next court date? Or what happened to court? What can the docket tell us? What can the IP tell us? My case was dismissed. Okay, we need to do something. So, any questions?
I just have a comment that that was just a terrific overview of all the many tasks that you and your staff take care of. That was really informative.
Thank you. I want to hope I taught you what we did.
Yeah.
I know there is a bit more, and it is a bit more complicated, but on the basic level, this is what occurs.
Yeah.
And one of the things with this is we're also the ones that go, I didn't touch anything. One of the ones that I follow this philosophy with one of the classification person and several other people is, you know, they need to know good and bad information. Once that occurs, and whatever the information is, whether it's a court date or whether anything we have going on there, what their money on their books is, as long as they get that information, again, good and bad, they seem to be satisfied. It may not be the answer they want, but they're getting an answer. And that's kind of like where we're at with everything.
I just like to ask the question, when an inmate goes in, do they get a booklet or something to tell them about all of these opportunities that they have available to them? Or they just have to learn by just being
No, it's kind of they learn. A lot of them know, and a lot of them can ask the older person. What I did when I was a case manager, when Gio was still there, and I haven't had the opportunity to do this, is I built a packet with every piece of paper they would need. Now it's done a lot on the tablets. So every program they can sign up for, from prep to GED to thresholds, medical forms, you know, requests, a paper request for information, whether it's for the case manager, the chaplain, food services. They can also do paper requests if they can't have access to a tablet. But it also had a welcome page on there that told you, here's how you pay bail, here's our address, here's how visitation works. And it was simple. And we did it in both English, and I used Google Translate and translated it all to Spanish from the backside. So we had both populations being able to know what was going on. I just found that sheet recently, and I've had to work to build another booklet for everybody, essentially.
Hmm.
It's in the plans. I got a couple things in the future for these guys.
Okay.
I will
Thank you.
also state that the tablet has the incarcerated person handbook in both the English and the Spanish version available. We do have them for print, and that was actually something the PA Prison Society brought up, that we need to make them more widely available in physical form. And so that's something that we're working to improve upon, as they've most recently brought that to our attention. And then as a separate department, but works very closely with case management, our classification department has to complete an orientation for all new commits within the first couple of days, where they're getting an overview. It's not necessarily as thorough as the inmate handbook would be, but they're getting an overview of the available services and programs.
Very good.
No other questions?
I was just curious about the length of time to wait to see a case manager or how much time they have. Do they have sufficient time to meet with people?
Yes. I like to have it done as quickly as possible once you leave classification, because classification does a little bit of what we do. Maybe it's contacting the probation officer if they're there on a probation violation. If they're there on new cases, it's not necessarily anybody needs to be contacted. But my personal philosophy is within 48 to 72 hours with a new IP hitting your unit, you should be doing an initial interview, or at least reviewing the case, or at least reviewing what the person came over. Okay, I got this person over here. Why are they here? Because you need to have the answers prior to talking to them. But that's the way I worked with it, though.
Is there something you feel like would your case managers, either information they need or resources they need? Is there something that is commonly asked for that we're not able to respond to or manage?
Right now, it's some additional training, and being short-staffed, it was hard to do and look for any training or even send anybody to training. But we're building the staff back up. I'm building the staff back up, and I hope to be up and running midsummer. And then I expressed to the other agency that I'm looking at the fall for doing the additional training with them.
Great.
Excuse my ignorance. Do you have a auditorium there where the IPs can all come in and they can receive additional information or some sort of training together that would better their environment and behavior?
Well, there are a lot of programs and there are a lot of job-based oriented classes. The education department also does Flagger Force, and it does a chemical class, and it does a cleaning class. There are a multitude of programs available to them. And again, it's all listed in the handbook, from the drug programs we have to the thresholds to the other programs that we're offering. Education, both GED and for the younger population to actually get your high school diploma if you're under 21. I mean, I can't list them right now because I don't remember them all. A little nervous.
But you don't have a time frame where everybody comes together.
Are you inferring like an orientation where everybody comes together and talk about what we're offering, or are you?
Yes.
Okay. It's something that we can look into. Also, classification does an overview of
I'm going to jump in. So I know your experience is primarily with the SEIs, where there's a lot of congregate setting, whether that's in the communal dining halls or in the yards. At county levels, because we have so many different varying degrees of classification status and whether or not people are sentenced or unsentenced, we have a lot of separations that need to occur throughout the agency. The only communal space that we have is our gymnasium, where we would have mixed populations. We need to increase the security staff, though, for that. Typically, what we'll do in that communal setting is have a monthly block rep meeting, of which some members of the board have been participating in, and we would certainly encourage you to come and be a part of that. Otherwise, we host those programs specific to the classifications. Those are designated typically on the unit classrooms, in which they might be meeting in larger groups, and we might have persons who are from multiple blocks within a housing unit, but they are classified of the same level. So the SCI is a bit different. Sometimes I wish that we had some of the luxuries that they had, but also recognize that our agencies are very different in somebody's adjudication process.
Thank you.
Of course.
Well, I want to wrap this up. I'd like to say thank you. If you need to contact me, my contact information was up there, but just reach out to the prison, phone calls or emails. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your win. That was very nice.
Yes. Yes, thank you for all these excellent reports this evening. Is there any new business on the board? Any old business? We'll move on to public participation. County residents and taxpayers are invited to make public comment on any matter of concern. Comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker.
Kimberly Brown, Cowin. Today was an interesting meeting. I seen all the deputies coming up. I thought Deputy Warden of Security was going to come up and give a nice presentation on security, but I guess not. The big question, so we asked for a tablet presentation, and that wasn't a truthful tablet presentation. The big question is, how does the inmates receive a tablet when they arrive onto the unit? Ms. Mastrodi said that the tablets are distributed through the unit by the unit manager or the officer along with the tablet runner. That's not correct. So what it is, the tablet runner comes off the block, get the tablets, go on the block, and they distribute the tablets among certain inmates, and they keep the tablets to themselves. To sell, you get $25, between $25 and $50 for the tablet. She stated how many tablets are on the block, on the unit, but never stated how many inmates have a tablet. That's the big question. The construction in the prison. Safety should be first priority. I don't understand why the locks in the jail wasn't first priority. We've been through so many summers with the different climates in the jail. At this point, we're used to it, but we have inmates and officers are concerned about the safety. Sheriff, you knew before the county took over the assessment in the jail. You knew all the issues. Locks should be important. We should be able to secure these inmates in their cell. Right now, there's no secure. Inmates are getting beat up. I'm pretty sure you've seen the paper. Inmates are getting beat up. There's no protection. There's no bathrooms working in the cells. It needs to be a better way of protecting these inmates. Roofing, we need locks in the jail. I'd like to give kudos to my supervisor for giving a truthful overview about case management. Case management is a big task and takes a lot of energy. Ms. Joanne Phillips, I asked the same question of why wasn't Ms. Gilmartin here at last week's council meeting for Teachers Week? And I made a request to council to bring Ms. Gilmartin to the next council meeting to acknowledge her of her award. Since no one came up for Teachers Week to take the proclamation, it'd be a good idea to bring her to the next council meeting. Okay.
I just want to say, I think there's plenty of time to acknowledge all the people that have won awards. And if she's getting that award in August, I think there's plenty of time to do that. So I don't think that's really an important concern at this point.
Okay. Any other public comment? Seeing none, are there any board member comments?
Director O'Malley, I just want to make sure, and I might have missed it. Did you announce the executive session?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Okay. If there's no other board member comments, I just would like to say it really was a great experience to be at the memorial service, as well as the picnic, as well as I see our case manager supervisor awardee has left, but good seeing him today at the Subaru Park event. It's just great to see so many good things happening at the facility and the projects as well. The security is coming, the HVAC is happening, and the kitchen is on deck as well. So a lot of positive things that are happening at the facility, and it's just great to experience that last week with everyone, and great news to share at this meeting as well. So, well, certainly work continues, and we have a lot of monitoring to do, and that is our responsibility as a jail oversight board. It's always good to hear these good things that are happening.
Could I add a comment?
Sure.
I just want to say that the complexity of the construction, the impact of the Crozier closing, the burden that will fall on staff and leadership to make assignments and cover the shifts. It's just going to make it more difficult. And I know, I just want to acknowledge that the board takes into consideration when we're doing the oversight that these difficult things are in front of us and in front of you every day. So we look at it, we've taken into consideration, and we know that everyone's working extremely hard to deal with all these complexities. And the construction is a huge task, and the movement of people is huge. So we are on it, but I have to say that, it's gratifying to see how hard everybody's working, and being up there last week just to be able to give some remarks. It was really an honor to do that. So it was appreciation for corrections officers, employees, and it's well deserved. So I just want to leave with that note from me.
Okay. And I said wonderful things about you while you were gone. You missed the whole thing. This is very terrible timing on your part. Okay, do we have an emotion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, see you next month. Thank you.